Okay, I am so thrilled to welcome and introduce to you Nathalie Jackson. So Nathalie is a professional electrical engineer by trade, but a high priestess of women's empowerment in spirit. Nathalie Jackson has been on a journey of personal transformation for over 2 decades. She is passionate about her life's work as the founder of the Women Unveiled School of Women's Mysteries, guiding her aspiring sisterhood to identify the blocks holding them back, rise above their inner fears, and rediscover the truest version of themselves. Yes. She is a holistic practitioner and healer, a certified fire walk. I've been hearing lots about this lately,
Mhm.
and shadow work facilitator, as well as an expert in countless other life affirming modalities. Nathalie's greatest joy is leading men and women to revitalize their way of being, connect
Mm.
with their innate magnificence, and embrace the joyous, abundant, successful life they deserve. Welcome, Nathalie.
Thank you, Sherry. So good to be here. Wow.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm so
Wow.
thrilled to have you. So, admittedly, I've been creeping you for a long time too. Like I go like not really like,
Mm.
hey, what's going on, but like watching and everything. And I think it's really exciting. Um, I hope I can say this. Like you're unleashing your,
Mm.
the sexual side here. I mean, I know you've
Mm.
been doing with people in this for a while. I think that's
Mhm.
what attracted to me to you. The very first thing that I noticed and was like, ooh, I
Huh.
guess I'm all interested in the sex stuff. But you were saying that, this is not something that you've shared publicly really before. So
That's
I,
right. That's right, Sherry. Well, it's really interesting. I've been doing this work for about 20 years now. And the last 15 has really gotten into the realm of sexuality. And like I was saying to you, it isn't something that I put out there publicly. We have retreats and we do the work in this really safe kind of sacred container, and I do a lot of one-on-one work. So we have this like womb space that we create to do this really deep intimate work, right? and
Mhm.
um and I just had a nudge when you invited me to be a part of this, that there's some aspects of it that we need to be able to talk about more openly and in good ways, publicly. So here I am. Hi.
Yes, and welcome. I'm excited. And, I love this combination. We're going to get into all this where you're talking about shadow work and you're talking about sexuality because I know, like full disclosure, my own self, this has been a big topic for me. There's
Mm,
been a lot up underneath this.
mm,
I mean, you're talking, and I know I'm not alone, past
mm,
traumas. We're
mm.
talking, societal norms and messages. And again, it's nothing like our
Exactly.
parents typically weren't doing anything wrong in most cases. Um, Society, like I just feel like there's so much up underneath this.
Wow, so much. And actually, Sherry, this is such a great segue. I just listened to Rod's talk right before this. And so we're perfectly going to segue into this. So I'd really recommend anybody going back and listening to it if you get a chance to, where he talked about core beliefs, right? The core programs that we have from early childhood, the imprints we've been given from our family of origin, and how at some point in our lives those beliefs just may not, some of them may not be working for us anymore, when we realize, wait a minute, I'm actually really capable, and I actually deserve more than this, and I actually deserve to be happy, right? We start to undo some of what happened in early childhood and redo it in a different way. What happens in the realm of sexuality is, because it's so hidden, it's relegated to the bedroom usually, or the kitchen or the living room or wherever, but it's like this like hidden taboo subject, that when things go wrong in that world, oftentimes we don't even know where to go. If something isn't working, if something is painful, if something hurts, right? Or if there's like some boundaries that have been crossed, or maybe we don't have an orgasm, we don't know how to orgasm, or maybe, you know, we're just not feeling satisfied in our sexual life. We don't often know where to go. And so the reason why I think it's so important that we like rip that carpet right off those shadowy places is because there's a lot that we can learn about the self when we go through the doorway of sexuality, when we start to really go, okay, so what isn't working? And what can this tell me about myself? And from the work that I've done in Eros work and sexuality and shadows, what we've discovered and what I've discovered recently in the last 5 or so years is that whatever isn't working in our sexuality points directly to unhealed core wounds. Like it'll go right to the deepest and to the darkest and to where the most profound level of healing is required in our psyche and in our subconscious, in our heart, in our body, and all of it when we explore it through this opening. So it's powerful and it's vulnerable, and it takes a lot of courage. Yeah, it takes courage to actually open up that door and go, actually, you know, this thing isn't working. If you're in a partnership and something isn't working in the realm of sexuality, to actually be able to go, actually, this thing isn't working. I need to be doing something differently. I need to experience something different here. Where do I go to do that? And so, you know, I thought I would give just a little bit, a small little snippet of where someone can go if something isn't working. How do you feel about that, Sherry?
Yes, please.
Okay. So let's say something isn't working. I just skipped over a whole bunch of other things that I was going to talk about, but this feels really important right now because there might very well be someone who's here today who's got something that isn't working really well in the realm of sexuality. Okay. So where I'm going to start is, you know what turns you on first and foremost, right? Where is your like sphere of comfort? What's comfortable for you? What kind of patterns, what kind of positions do you return to? What kind of things feel good and right? And you're like, okay, I can go there and it's comfortable. Okay, know what turns you on first of all. That's really, really important because I think, you know, for a lot of women out there, and I don't know many men's experience, but for a lot of women, we don't always know what turns us on, right? So start there, figure out what turns you on. And then the really valuable area to look at is what turns you off. There's some really important work that's been done, and in this Eros work that I've co-created it with two of my co-conspirators, Giles and Bridget Carwin, who are in the US. We've created this program together. And what we have really discovered through, and also I want to reference Emily Nagoski's book, Come As You Are. If you've got any kind of challenges in the realm of sexuality as a woman, I would highly recommend reading that book, because she talks about how these ways that we actually stop ourselves from the natural flow of eroticism that's available to every single one of us. Like, that is our life force energy. It's there for us to access. And we've just been programmed in ways that shuts it down. And so when we start to explore what turns you off, so let's say you're starting to get intimate with somebody else, or maybe with yourself, and you're feeling a little bit aroused and turned on, and you might have a thought about something, or you look at something, maybe you look at the dirty floor, or you look at the sheets that you forgot to change, or the laundry that hasn't been done, or you think about some stress that happened at work today, and right away the arousal diminishes. And I don't know, some of you have had that experience before where you're like, yeah. And all of a sudden, oh, I'm not, okay, I got a headache now, not tonight, honey.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Emily Nagoski talks a lot about that in her book, where she talks about these breaks that we have, these programs we have in our subconscious from early childhood, that then once we see something, or we hear, or we smell something, right away our psyche goes, no more eroticism. I got to go tend to that. Or I'm a bad person if I do it. If I do this now, or if I take this risk here. There's all kinds of subconscious programs that are happening in the realm of sexuality. So when we start to explore what turns you off, we get closer and closer and closer to where those wounds are from our childhood. And so I'm going to ask this question to any of you, to you too, Sherry, and you don't have to answer it, but just as kind of like an exploration. So what turns you off? And the next question is, how old were you when that program first showed up? And just on an intuitive level, how old were you when that imprint came into your subconscious mind about, if the sheets aren't cleaned, or you're not clean, or the laundry is not done, that you're bad in some way, or that something isn't right in your world, that you're incompetent, that you're not good enough, or whatever, right? How old were you when that program first showed up? And then the work we do in sexuality and shadows is to actually address that little part in us. So if that, maybe you were 4 or 5 years old when mom told you that you always have to have your hands clean, go wash your hands, go clean your clothes because you're all dirty, da, 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 da. And then all of a sudden, we hit 49 years old. That's how old I am. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh my, everything has to be clean in order for me to feel aroused.
Right.
You see the where the correlation can start to come in our sexual realm is with these early childhood programs. And so, what we can do to start to heal them is to be the nurturing voice of what that little one needs. Give that little one what she needs or what he needs. Tell that little one that she's loved, no matter what, no matter what kind of behavior she's doing, no matter what you're saying or feeling. No matter how dirty your hands are, I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to be there for you. I'm still going to support you no matter what. And we start to nurture those little parts that are like yearning for something. I think even Rod talked about that as well, that kind of like that yearning that then we seek attention outside of us and create these patterns to meet that yearning. And so a lot of this work in the realm of sexuality is to find out where the early programs started and to become that nurturing voice within the self, to look after, tend to our little ones on the inside, to tend to our heart in a different way.
And so is the working on it from the sexual perspective, the pathway to that healing, or, is working on that, not exclusive of the sexual part, the way that you can improve, or is it both, or does it matter, or?
That's a really great question. Yeah, I mean, what I would say to that is sexuality can be like a gateway that shows us where some of those gaping wounds may still exist in us when there's something that isn't working. And for many of us, there might be a whole bunch of things that are working. And I would say, if it's working, do it. Like, if it feels good, do it.
Right. So I'm hearing you too. It's like that. It's that curiosity. Okay. So something's not happening here, and hitting into that place of like, okay, I know for me, again, brutally honest, a lot of times what comes for me is that's a place where I feel like I have to serve and not be served. And, then resentments and things like that start to come up. And, I have kind of thought that through too. And it's like, where else have I felt that way? Where has that come from? And it's like that, and I have been in that place where it's like, well, you make me feel right. And then realizing it's like, no, I already feel like that. And then there's a projection out that see, that's what you're doing.
Yes. Yeah.
Totally different thing.
Absolutely. And that service one is a really big one, in terms of what has really been beneficial for a lot of people who've come through and done this work with me is to actually work it in the fantasy realm. So what might it be like? This is what I would offer to someone. Like, what might it be like to actually be on the receiving end of being looked after, being tended to, having your needs cared for, having someone totally look after you on every single level in every pleasurable way? That it may just expand into a really beautiful fantasy that can, offer some that's another one of the tools that I teach people, is to use fantasy as a way to increase the eroticism when we start to work some of these shadows. So for me, so I hear that shadow about like being in service. For me, it's the shadow around needing to be in control all the time. Like I'm a leader. And so I'm in charge of things. And so I do. So in my fantasy world, I let go of control completely. And I like get all bound up and all tied up, and I let somebody else be in control.
Yeah.
Right. And so I can work that piece within me by adopting the opposite in the realm of fantasy. And it's really powerful to go there.
Well, and it's interesting that you're saying this too. And I don't want to turn this into the Sherry show, but I do think it will serve others, right? Is that has been an exercise that I've been working on, like outside of the bedroom, talking about, having a realization of, oh, like, I'm really clear on, it's really important to me to give out into the world and to create ripples into the world, and support people and stepping into, like I said, that you with you, and like I love that. But then also realizing, wait a minute, for real flow, the receiving has to be equal to the giving for me to really be able to create, the ripples that I want to create. And so it's like, yeah, I'm kind of shortchanged on the receiving side. So it's that work of, so, when you say that in terms of the bedroom, I mean, there's a piece of me, not gonna lie, that's going, but I also, there's a piece of me inside that goes,
yeah,
that's the
and and that reciprocity piece is really important. When you said that right away, I thought, okay, so when you surrender to receiving like that, then somebody else who loves giving as much as you do has the gift then to be able to give it to you. There's this beautiful synchronicity that happens when we can really, work some of these patterns that are in our psyche. Yeah. Yeah, amazing.
So many great comments here in the chat. Fantasy allows for a safe space to let go in and allow the pleasure, oops, it popped out, pleasure ripples to come in waves of avalanches.
Beautiful. Yeah. So the realm of fantasy. So one other thing I'd like to offer to people is, when we and if you're going to be going through all of these talks in the Moreathon, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to do some core belief reprogramming and some healing on deep levels. And when we do that, then what happens in the realm of sexuality is this sphere of comfort that we had around what we thought was okay and acceptable in sexuality. Then all of a sudden there's maybe a willingness or a capacity to go just outside of that sphere of comfort and try something that's uncomfortable. Try something you've never tried before, and it doesn't have to be a giant leap. It can be a tiny step. But every time we do that and we find something new that turns us on, it grows that sphere of comfort and it expands the realm of sexuality and what kind of experiences we can have in the realm of sexuality. And so what I would offer is try something you've never tried before. There's plenty of information and books out there around, around kink, trying some bondage, trying, quickies if you're used to, 2-hour sex sessions, trying, in the living room instead of the bedroom, just like something that's slightly outside of where you thought sex needed to be or how it needed to be. And it will start to shift your repertoire and your inner experience around what's a turn on, how you allow that eros and that arousal to move through your body.
And it feels like, from what you're saying, there's a level of, like, even if you're in a relationship, there is a level of self-exploration here, right? That is, some of that, figuring out for yourself, not necessarily in partnership with someone, what it is that you want. And then what also is coming up for me too is the piece of communication. It feels like, because I feel like, like there's I've had relationships, many relationships, and because it's a taboo subject and stuff, like everyone just kind of like, oh yeah, okay, it's time, get into it, and then back to work, or whatever. There's not really, communication happening.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I really loved what Virio was saying this morning about learning. She said something, I hope I'm paraphrasing correctly, about learning to your own map first and foremost. So learn what turns you on, learn about your own body, learn about your own programs around what's turning you off first. Because then when we're in an intimate relationship with another, when we're having these discussions, our two spheres of comfort are intersecting somehow. And so if I understand mine better, then I can come to somebody else and be like, hey, this thing, I know why this isn't working very well. And can we try something differently in this realm, and just start the conversation about it. Once I get more and more comfortable with my own arousal and my own body and my own limits, really, as well.
Yeah.
Yes, the
And
communication.
what's coming up too for me right now is like, what if you don't even have a clue? Like you're just like, I don't know what I want. And I think, with messages that are out there, then you can start to question, well, is it that I don't really like that?
Mm-hmm.
Or is that just, a belief that's been
Exactly.
placed upon me or given to me from somewhere else that's not really mine?
Exactly.
Right. And so I'm sure you can support people in that, but like, what do you do if you're like, I don't know what I want? Like, where do I begin?
Yeah. Well, then I would say, I would say to that one person to start with themselves, start with yourself, and take yourself out on a date or have a bubble bath, and be still with yourself, feel your own body, listen to your own heart. And it's in that like stillness and that presence with the self that we can start to get a little closer to understanding maybe what is it that I actually do want. Do I want something different from my sexuality? Do I want something different from my life? Right there, it's all connected. And so I would say take yourself out on the date, get to know yourself a little bit more, learn how to pleasure yourself. Those are all really good places to start if it's a giant unknown or if there's a lot of confusion around sexuality. Mm-hmm.
Great answer. And I want to take a second as I'm looking at time. Nicole, if we do this again together, we need longer than half hour. It's like I've always done 45 minutes before, and we decided, oh, let's try half an hour. I'm like, every single one of these talks, I have almost like this feeling. Actually, you guys tell me how you feel. Does it feel like we're not complete? I keep feeling like we're not quite complete.
Yeah.
And we gotta go.
Yeah.
So
like we're just getting started.
Yeah, it's like just that extra 15 minutes, I think, make all the world of difference. So let me know what you guys think, and no, 45 minutes is just not, it's not enough. Yeah, I know, right? So I think there's something exciting
There sure
happening
is.
that you want to talk about.
I sure do. So I've been holding my tongue all day, Sherry, just because I wanted to make this announcement here with you, because I told you, hey, I want to make this announcement here. And so I'm so excited that the book that I've worked 10 years on to write, that talks about, there's sexuality and shadows, and it's a fictional story. It got published yesterday morning. It went live on Amazon. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And I haven't announced it on Facebook. I haven't told anybody on Facebook because I wanted to tell all of you here. And so what we've done
here, you heard it right here on the
right here. Exactly, right here for all of you. And I've arranged it with Terry ahead of time. And she has selected 2 winners for a free copy of my book who are here listening today. And so, yay, yeah. And so the 2 winners who get a copy of my book are Rossi and Kesh. Rosie and Kesh. All right, great. So yes, you all get you 2 get a copy of my book.
Kesh, that's awesome. Yay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yay.
thank you
And
like so much for doing that and unleashing that here. Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. Yay. And so some free gifts. Do you want me to talk about those?
Yes, please.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I actually have 3 gifts that I'm giving away. 2 for anyone who attended for free today, and then 1 is the VIP upgrade. So I've created an ebook, a Living in the Heart ebook that has some heart-centered processes in it. So that you're going to get for free. And I've also offered my Tree of Life, my 10-part series course on spiritual growth through the Tree of Life. It's an ancient teaching that, it covers subconscious programming and emotional intelligence and mental mastery and living in the heart. Like, it goes through all of the 10 spheres going up the Tree of Life. So it's a very deep program if spiritual growth is something that excites you and you want to just dive right in. So I've offered that for free. And the VIP upgrade is a 30-minute life activation call where we're going to talk about, like, what is it that you want and what's in the way of that, and explore some of, what might be in shadow in 30 minutes yeah, exactly. To dig in. Yeah. So that's what I've got.
I'm so grateful to have had you here, Nathalie, and I'm so grateful to finally just like have a conversation with you, like selfishly. Nobody else is here, it's just me and you. Yeah. But I really, really enjoyed our time, and thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom. And yeah, just much gratitude to you.
Thank you, Sherry, so much.
Any last little tip or anything you want to share?
Yeah, my wish for each of you is a full-on exploration of your own Eros. May it bring you joy and ecstasy.
Awesome. Much love to you. Thanks so much, Nathalie.
Thanks, Sherry.
We'll send you back. And right away, oh my gosh, we are at the end of the day. Our last speaker, I can't believe it. So while we're bringing in Dr. Nathalie Jackson, who I saw at another summit a couple of years ago, and I was like, woo! So I'm super excited. She's closing out the day. She's going to chat about the power of your female brain on money. And while we're bringing her in, I just want to make that final mention of the VIP upgrade. If you haven't taken advantage of that yet, all the recordings, VIP gifts like the ones you just heard, $500. Your name in the draw to win $500 cash with the speaker of your choice. And there's been so many amazing ones today. And then as well, going into the draw to win a seat at Nicole and my program. I'm going to stop record because I forgot to do